This is Lesson 5, Note Duration. Or we could subtitle this, I've Got Rhythm. Most of the music you will play using the popular method, that is, we're going to be playing songs. Most of this music is made up of melody, harmony, that's the accompaniment, or the chords, which we will get into later, and rhythm. So we've already looked at melody in our previous lesson, and now we're going to talk about the rhythm. Of course, melodies all have rhythm. In fact, the rhythm of a particular melody can be so distinctive that you can recognize it from the rhythm alone. So I'm going to tap on my desk here and see if you recognize the song that I am playing strictly by the rhythm. You're not going to hear any pitches or notes, but here's the rhythm. Now I bet all of you are starting to feel like, hey, it's almost Christmas, because that was Jingle Bells. Here's another one. Now that one may have been a little harder, but it was actually the Star-Spangled Banner. And here's a fun thing that you can do, a little game that you can play. Think of all the tunes that you know, all the songs that you know, and just tap out the rhythm of that particular melody. And you can play this with one of your friends and see if they can recognize the tune just from that rhythm of the tune. Now, music notation shows you the rhythm of the melody. And this can actually be the hardest part of reading sheet music if you aren't familiar with the tune already. When we get into later on about how to learn a new song or how to approach a new song, I will always tell people you should hear it and read the music, and you'll learn it that much more quickly. In classical piano, those of you who've had piano lessons, you may have already learned the note values, the duration of notes, and you realize that these note values must be strictly observed. In popular music, as you're going to see, in playing songs, there is more room for interpretation. In fact, a pop pianist or somebody who plays popular music will often play a song a little differently every time. Often they'll learn the basic rhythm of a song from listening to it and imitating it, as well as reading the sheet music. And so the key to learning a new song quickly is to listen to it, if possible, and then use the sheet music to fill in the holes of your memory. So let's look at the basics of note values. When you're playing or listening to a song, you become aware of the pulse or the beat. For many songs, you can count along as you play or listen. You might find yourself counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you look at a line of music, you see that it is divided up into measures. A measure is designated by bar lines. Each measure contains a certain number of beats, as determined by the time signature. We'll get to time signatures in the next lesson. So here are the note values and what they look like on the staff. So, introducing the whole note. In most songs, the whole note will receive 4 beats. There are exceptions depending on the time signature, but we're going to deal with that later as well. The whole note gets 4 beats. Music is very mathematical, so we can actually cut this whole note in half and get 2 half notes. Then we can cut the half note in half and get 2 quarter notes. So you can see the whole note is just like this flat circle, as it were, flattened circle. And then you add a stem. This is what we call a stem in music notation. You add the stem, and now you have a half note. And then if you fill in the note, and you still have the stem there, now you've got quarter notes. Then the quarter note can be divided into 2 eighth notes. Now you can have an eighth note standing by itself, and so it's a filled-in note with a stem, and then there's a little flag on top of it. And then you can actually take 2 eighth notes and join them together using what we call a beam. So here's a couple of eighth notes that come one after the other, and they're joined together by this beam. The eighth note can be divided into two 16th notes. And so the 16th note, if it's standing there by itself, it has two little flags on it. And you can also join two 16th notes together with a double beam. More often than not, you will see four 16th notes joined together with that double beam. Now the divisions can be carried on further. You can have 32nd notes, 64th notes, and even 128th notes, but those occur more often in classical music. When you're playing songs that are meant to be sung, they will rarely go beyond 16th notes. Now let's look at the dot. A dot after a note increases the value of the note by half again. So, for example, if you see a dot after a half note, the dot adds half of a half. That is a quarter. And so here's what it looks like. So those are the basics of note duration. So be sure to review everything we've covered so far in these lessons before you go on to the next one.